The New York Giants disrespected Saquon Barkley by using him as the bell cow to their atrocious offense. For multiple years, Barkley put up amazing numbers with a horrendous O-line and bad quarterback play for many years. At times, he seemed to be their only good player on offense. In fact, looking at Daniel Jones' numbers, his best season occurred whenever Barkley would have his best years as well. The Giants then chose to sign Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract. Saquon? Yeah, he got franchise tag and made about $10 million. Keep in mind, a franchise tag is something players, especially running backs, despise because of the lack of long-term financial security within a sport that's very violent and unpredictable like football. Now, some players like to hold out in those situations. Saquon, no, he didn't. Dude showed up to camp and put in the work. And the following year, he was just shy of 1,000 yards. Keeping in mind, he did miss 2 games that year. And what did their superstar $160 million quarterback do? Yeah, he put up horrendous stats for the first 6 games of the season, then got injured for the rest of the year. But wait, I thought Saquon was an injury-prone player. Even after all that, the Giants were still unwilling to give Saquon the contract he rightfully deserved. Eventually, the Eagles, a division rival, had to step in and take Saquon away from his former team. A division rival stepped in and gave Saquon the second contract that he was working very hard for, that he deserved. And how did that turn out for the Eagles, huh? Did they sign another Le'Veon Bell and create a horrible mistake? Well, Barkley is currently set to have his best season ever in the NFL. A player that was believed to have had his best days behind him is hitting his prime right now as we speak. This last week, Saquon and the Eagles headed over to the Big Apple to play Saquon's former team, the Giants. And how did Saquon do? It all started with a player named Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley, who'd put together a few years where he was just a very dominant running back, one of the best running backs in the NFL, if not the best running back in the NFL. Dude was Christian McCaffrey before Christian McCaffrey. So what happened? The Rams gave him a very well-earned 4-year, $60 million contract, making him the highest paid running back at the time. And Todd Gurley fell off. He fell off a cliff. One of the biggest reasons was the arthritis that was developing in his knee. Dude just couldn't run like he used to before. And yeah, the Rams wasted a lot of money on a player that after giving that contract, didn't perform as well as they expected. And then we get over to our second example that happened around 2018, which was the Le'Veon Bell holdout. Le'Veon Bell was, again, kind of like Todd Gurley, a very dominant running back for the Steelers. And in 2018, the Steelers said, hey, you're playing really well for us, but this guy named James Conner, I mean, he's pretty good too. Yeah, so we're probably just gonna franchise tag you. And Le'Veon Bell took that to heart and said, I'm gonna sit out. He sat out for the entire year because the Steelers were looking at how well James Conner was playing. They're like, cool, stay sitting out. We're actually doing a lot better without you. It's funny because James Conner beat cancer, then went on to beat Le'Veon Bell at his job. Le'Veon Bell eventually made his way over to the Jets, where the Jets gave him the contract, the big contract he was looking for, about 4 years, $52 million. And he played bad. He played nowhere near as good as the Le'Veon Bell we remembered in Pittsburgh, and kind of the same thing happened. The Jets paid a lot of money for a running back who didn't play as well as they expected him to play. And I feel like a lot of those were contributing factors to what occurred last year in the offseason, where a lot of these running backs were struggling to find a long-term contract. But the funny thing is that a lot of these trends don't happen with quarterbacks, even though, for example, Deshaun Watson just proved to be the worst contract in NFL history. Oh, and the Jets did the same thing with Le'Veon Bell. They signed a washed running back, and then 2 years ago, they say we go sign a washed quarterback. Okay, so you literally have multiple examples of teams overpaying for players, and those players not performing well for other positions. Yet, we're never going to see a sudden drop in value in quarterbacks because, hey, Aaron Rodgers, hey, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is literally the worst contract in the history of the entire NFL. He might be the worst contract in the history of sports. Like, literally, In the history of every sport to ever be played, in the history of the entire universe, Deshaun Watson is the worst contract ever. And you telling me that, oh, Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell happened, so yeah, running backs, y'all can't get that much money. But no, Deshaun Watson, you can take all the money you want. Oh, Aaron Rodgers, we losing more games with you than Zach Wilson? Nah, it's fine. Quarterbacks are fine. My thing is, the way y'all treat quarterbacks, you should also treat running backs that same way, okay? It doesn't mean that running backs are suddenly trash. It's just like, oh, well, there's 2 better running backs that got signed for a lot of money. Guess we not going to do that. So, yeah, basically, the common sentiment from NFL GMs were basically running backs are easily replaceable, they're injury-prone, and the third reason being that many of the recent past Super Bowl winners didn't feature a superstar running back. So, what's changed? Why were running backs seen as, hey, they're not valuable? Oh my God, running backs suck now. We shouldn't sign them. And this year, they're proving the entire league wrong. They're showing with a superstar running back, you can win games even when the rest of your offense is still struggling to get their passing game down. You can put it on the running back to run and get you those wins early on in the season. So now people are seeing running backs are valuable. They are a necessity if you want to win in this league. And if you want to know what's changed, let's go over a few things that cause this change to happen. First of all, passing. It is historically down, and believe it or not, it is not a 1-year exception. It is a trend for the last few years. Passing yards per game have been going down steadily for the last few years. So why is it down? Well, I made a video explaining how quarterbacks are not being developed as well as they used to. So if you want to watch that video and learn about some of the reasons, I'm going to summarize it, but if you want more detail about those reasons, then again, you can watch the video. First, basically, they are being drafted higher than they ever have been. The firing of coaches has become a lot more commonplace, therefore harder to develop quarterbacks because, hey, there's certain schemes that they have to learn, and then when a coach gets fired, they have to learn a brand new scheme, and that's not good for a developing quarterback that's still trying to learn what the hell the NFL even is. And the third reason is that nobody takes the preseason seriously anymore. People don't start anybody in the preseason, and then typically the first 4 or 5 weeks of the actual NFL season is the preseason. Also, a fourth thing in the video, I didn't mention it, but a lot of people in the comments mentioned it, and it's a good point. If you're analyzing how to win, the cap flexibility to be able to sign people left and right and build a legitimate roster and then go out and win a Super Bowl. So, because of that reason, I mean, we look at, like, for example, those Seahawks with Russell Wilson, they literally got rid of the entire team just to keep Russell Wilson, and they were nowhere near as good afterwards. So people want to draft quarterbacks early on, start them early on, and then that's their Super Bowl, that's their new Super Bowl window now. So you're putting these young guys in very hard predicaments. So those are just some of the few reasons why passing is down. And I would love to just kind of break down every example this year of running backs helping their team win. But the video would literally be like an hour long. So what I'm going to do is name you a few examples of running backs that have kind of carried their team in the first few weeks this year, and then I'll kind of list down all the great running back performances we've had this year in general. But first, let's start off with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry struggled his first 2 games in the season, and so did the Ravens. What a coincidence. Guess what? Derrick Henry started rushing a lot better, started putting out, the old King Henry performances that we remember. The Ravens started hitting their stride, and now they look like the Super Bowl contenders we always thought them to be. Then you have examples like the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. The Eagles, not only is their passing game very flawed when it comes from a schematic standpoint, they also had both of their starting receivers in and out of the lineup due to injuries. So while their receivers are recovering from injuries, Saquon held it down for the Eagles and was able to get them a lot of the wins that they got early on in the season. And the same thing could be said for Kyren Williams. Rams lost Puka and Cooper Kupp at the beginning of the season, and guess what? Kyren held it down for them. Now that we've seen passing is not as good as it used to be, early on passing was even worse than what it is now. So yeah, while teams have been trying to figure out and iron out all the details of their offenses, their passing offenses, A lot of their running backs have been like, hey, I'll take over the game and win it for you. The second reason why I think running backs are having a crazy comeback year is that one of the biggest issues with running backs have been resolved, and that's superstar running backs getting injured. What a lot of people are doing is supplementing their superstar running back with a very capable backup. Sometimes their backup might be on similar if not equal footing. Look at the Lions. Right now they have David Montgomery and paired him up with Jahmyr Gibbs, and they're both playing out of their mind. They're both playing at a Pro Bowl level, and it's been helping the team execute on offense so well. Right now Jared Goff is currently, at least where we're at in the NFL season, is the MVP favorite. Now, I'm not saying Jared Goff ain't putting in the work. He is giving us elite quarterback play, but the running backs do help in a major way. And you want to know the third reason why running backs are being favored a lot more than they were in like the last year or two? Well, a lot of people figure something out. Quarterbacks started running the ball a lot more, and people have been thinking, well, I don't need a superstar running back. I could get a decent, okay, mid-level running back and just have my quarterback rush a lot as well, because quarterbacks nowadays are a lot faster. Back then in the NFL, you had 1 or 2 quarterbacks at the time that could run the ball at an almost elite level. Then you had a handful of guys that had like a little bit of sneaky speed. They wouldn't run it unless they were forced to, and when they did, they get you a good 5 to 10 yards. But in today's day and age, every quarterback has rushing upside, and incorporate the quarterback actually rushing in part of their game plan. This helped devalue the running back. Why pay big money for a running back when you can pay big money for a quarterback that can both rush and pass? Now, what was one of the biggest issues with running backs? Oh, it's that they get injured. I wonder why. Rushing is a necessary evil in the NFL. I call it evil because it is the most destructive and violent way of getting yards. They help the most with time of possession, and that's the important thing. Time of possession, because every time you run it, you're gonna kill clock, which when you pass it, it's not always guaranteed your receiver's gonna catch the ball. And that is the issue with not having a star running back. When you have a sizable lead, it is usually assumed that you're gonna include a little bit more running into your game plan because you're trying to kill clock. When you're unwilling or unable to run and get those first downs, then what you're doing is you're giving the opposing team the ball back with plenty of time left. But like I said, running is very destructive on your body. And guess what? A lot of those people that refuse to sign running backs because, oh, they're injury prone. Do you want to see what's happened since the beginning of the 2023 season? We've had quarterbacks like Tua Tagovailoa, Anthony Richardson, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, JJ McCarthy, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith have all missed multiple regular season games since the beginning of 2023. And you think I was just fishing for little injuries here and there? 9 out of those 14 players I just mentioned suffered season-ending injuries. Oh, and guess what? So if you get the 32 starters in the NFL currently, you do minus 14. Those are the players that got injured. You do minus 3 for the rookie quarterbacks that are starting. You have Bo Nix, you have Drake May, who starts here and there, and then you have Jaden Daniels. So you do 32 minus the 14 quarterbacks I just mentioned, minus the 3 rookie quarterbacks, and then I'm gonna do minus 4. This minus 4 is just to represent players like CJ Stroud and Will Levis that are on their second year. They haven't played 2 full seasons yet. And then players like Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew, and Joe Flacco, who typically don't spend the entire year as a starter. They only play a handful of games whenever the starter either is not playing well or is injured. So again, it's harder for them to get injured if they're only playing in small spurts. You subtract 32 with the 14 names, with the other 3 names, and then the 4 other names. Basically, to summarize all this, you get the number 10. That means in the NFL currently, there are only 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that have not suffered multi-game injuries in the last season and a half. I don't know about you, but if you have to gain 1,000 yards to win a certain amount of games, you're going to gain those 1,000 yards. Now, your running back that are built and made to run the ball have less chances of getting injured than your quarterback at this point. So y'all think, oh wait, we could just not pay a running back and just run it with the quarterback. And I feel like a lot of people are realizing, hey, if we keep running it with the quarterback and not with our running backs, we're not going to have any quarterbacks left when it's all said and done. I still think quarterbacks should be able to rush the ball. That's still great that they do that. And there are players like Lamar Jackson that are really good at avoiding taking big hits, but it should should be something that's a little bit more limited. Whenever running backs rush the ball a lot, they get hurt. Whenever quarterbacks rush the ball a lot, they get hurt. But you're not going to pay quarterbacks less because now they're all of a sudden, all of them are getting hurt now, right? So, but you did it with running backs, but you're not going to do it with quarterbacks. At the end, I understand quarterback is a more important position, but the way you treat each position, I understand quarterbacks, you go get paid a certain amount, running backs going to get paid a certain amount, that's a lot less. But the amount that running backs get paid fluctuates a lot, where quarterbacks, they still get paid a lot. Yet running backs, it's fluctuating every day, every other year. Oh, 2 running backs were overpaid. Oh, it's fluctuating downwards. Oh, running backs are good again. Oh, it's fluctuating upwards. I'm just saying they should both be at the same level. And a lot of people also bring up, hey, a lot of the past Super Bowl winners don't got good running backs. And here's the thing, you can kind of break apart each Super Bowl. For example, the Chiefs last year, hey, they won the Super Bowl and they didn't have that good of a running back. But then we've kind of realized, hey, their running back Pacheco is an elite running back. They just drafted him late, but he is by all means an elite level running back, and he was with them last year in the Super Bowl. So that knocks down 2 Super Bowls. But it's funny because it's like all running backs don't win Super Bowls. Why don't you talk to the Seattle Seahawks about that, where they literally lost the Super Bowl because they didn't give the ball to their superstar running back Marshawn Lynch? When you break it down, it's too small of a sample size. And yes, there are teams that have gone out, won Super Bowls recently, and don't have good running backs. But typically, when you watch the Super Bowl, typically the Super Bowl winning team will have better rushing. And I know game script is a thing. I understand game script is a thing. So hey, if you're leading in the game, you're going to want to slow time down. So you're going to run the ball more. But guess what? Even if you check yards per carry, they're still higher than the losing team on average. So rushing is important. And at the end of the day, we look at those teams, the Titans not wanting Derrick Henry, the Giants unwilling to sign Saquon Barkley, the Dallas Cowboys for not wanting to re-sign Tony Pollard, the Raiders not wanting to sign Josh Jacobs. Where does that leave you? All 4 of those teams are trash this year. Surprise, surprise. As long as American football exists, the running back will always be important. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If y'all want more content like this, I do football and basketball, NBA, NFL. Those are my 2 loves. So those are the 2 things I mainly cover on this channel. You want more videos like this? Leave a like, subscribe. Right now, I'm staying at 130 subscribers. We hit 100. That's amazing. And I want to try to get to 1,000. So let's do it. So yeah, if you know somebody else that might enjoy this video, send it to them. Why not? Appreciate it and hope y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.